What's up guys, back here with another ReZero Arc5 summary. This summary is going to be for chapter 6, 2 spirit knights, 2 greedy merchants and 1 selfless angel. So be sure to check out my last summary to be caught up for this one. And without further ado, let's begin. The chapter kicks off with Subaru still in a state of shock after Anastasia's sudden appearance at the seasilf inn. Subaru then remembers the presence of Beatrice beside him and quickly pulls himself together. They then go on to discuss the battle against the White Whale and also the events after with the witches' cults. During their conversation, Anastasia begins to make fun of Subaru by mentioning her own knight, Julius. And while viewing Subaru's obvious discomfort by the name, Emilia and Anastasia then begin to chuckle. Garfield then interjects and questions Anastasia and if Julius is truly an enemy of Subaru's. Emilia responds, however, that even though they are currently in opposition for the throne of Lagunica, they were still invited to the city of Pistella by the Anastasia faction on friendly terms. This manages to calm Garfield, and just as Anastasia is about to speak, Mimi rushes into the room and then quickly exits with Garfield as they go on to play in the city. After their swift exit, Anastasia then remarks that with Mimi's carefree attitude, she is easily able to make friends. Even so, she still was surprised to see Mimi's interaction with Garfield moments ago. We then go on to see a shift in Anastasia's aura as she begins to question Emilia and Subaru on the type of person Garfield is. Subaru then thinks to himself that Anastasia's current aura resembles that of a mother protecting its daughter from unwanted pests. Otto then enters the room, now finished with securing the carriages, and promptly begins calming Anastasia's worries about Garfield. We then go on to learn that the Japanese architecture in Pistella and even the city itself can all be traced back to Hoshin of the West. Subaru then begins to think to himself that Hoshin may also be from Earth and was sent here similar to himself and Al. Anastasia then re-enters the room with Julius and he promptly begins to greet Emilia and apologize for his lateness. Viewing this, Subaru begins to go annoyed. Just then, Julius turns his eyes to Subaru and also begins to greet him, formally as a knight. This only manages to further annoy Subaru and he harshly replies to Julius's greeting. Viewing this, Julius cracks a smile, drops his formalities and again greets Subaru. They go on to hold some friendly banter where Julius acknowledges Subaru's growth and compliments him on his maturity. Julius then notices Beatrice alongside Subaru and also begins to greet her. During Beatrice's response, she begins to admit that somehow Julius is making her heart waver, and as Subaru is left speechless, Julius clears up the situation that Beatrice's odd response is due to the effects of his divine protection, blessing of the gathering spirits. This basically allows him favor with all surrounding spirits. He also goes on to explain that he is currently contracted with 6 quasi-spirits, all with different attributes, and only with the help of his divine protection is he able to manage them all. Otto then cuts into their conversation and suggests that they begin introductions. Julius is the first to introduce himself, and after his own introduction, begins the introduction of his master, Anastasia. Otto then thanks Julius for his introduction and begins making his own. The final person to be introduced is Beatrice, and after her introduction is finished, Otto again speaks up and shifts the conversation to business affairs. Otto then begins to question Anastasia on why they were invited to the city of Pistella. Anastasia replies that they were invited to the city in order for them to acquire the item they have been seeking. This response bothers Subaru, and he also begins to question Anastasia and how she was able to find out what they were looking for. Emilia, however, then steps in and begins to thank Anastasia for the opportunity to obtain the magic spellstones. This display of sincerity manages to shock Anastasia, and she then begins to question Subaru on if they will continue to support Emilia, understanding the stigma she holds by being similar to the Witch of Envy. Subaru and Otto promptly reassert their support for Emilia, and Otto and Anastasia go on to speak in tandem on the value of gratitude. Anastasia accepting their response, goes on to inform the group that the sole maker for high-quality magic stones is a man by the name of Kiritaka, a man who had his heart stolen by a songstress. Okay guys, that was another great chapter. There's so many things I want to touch on. First off, I was kind of disappointed that Garfield wasn't able to meet Julius here. Who knows, they might have even fought. Who do you guys think would have won? There was also the information on Ocean of the Waste, being the one responsible for all the Japanese architecture. And finally, I was kind of surprised to find out that Julius's divine protection was strong enough to effect a great spirit like Beatrice. That's pretty OP. Maybe it doesn't apply in Subaru's case, but in theory, Julius should be able to steal spirits from their users. And that's gonna be all for now guys. Drop a comment letting me know what you think. Be sure to like, subscribe. Until next time, peace.